All right, everybody, welcome back to the Nick and Izzy show. Wow, Izzy, it's been like 5 or 6 episodes, hasn't it?
It has, brother. Yes, it's been yeah, it's been 6 episodes already. Isn't it crazy how fast time flies? And it's crazy because in like another month and a half, I'm gonna be 25.
Oi, can you not?
Oh, please stop.
Okay, so you're hearing a voice that's right below us on the screen.
Sorry.
So maybe we should introduce her. And so joining us for this episode is our colleague and our friend at WABC. You can hear her on Curtis and Juliet, noon to 3, weekdays, Monday through Friday. And we enjoy talking to her because she has a high energy, and we like high energy. So, so Juliet Huddy is joining us.
Hi, boys.
Thank you for being with us.
This is so, guys. I'm so happy for you. This is great.
Yeah, we wanted to, like we were talking before we came on here, we were looking for a little bit of a separate platform so we can talk and get to know some people, and here we go. So
I'm the sixth person. Episode.
No, you're the first guest.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You're our first guest.
Wait, so what did you guys do before the? I should have actually looked, but I've been, with this coronavirus and the riots and everything, it's been a little crazy. I didn't realize that. So what were you talking about before?
So actually, last week, Izzy and I spoke about the protests and the riots. It was a big situation, and Izzy did a very good job. There's another video on his page that he was actually out speaking at a protest, and he handled it really well. He's a really good public speaker.
Oh, Izzy is the sweetest man. I literally. The first time I saw you, I was like, "Oh my god, he's so tall!" And he's like the nicest guy. He's just a little angel.
And yeah, I believe brother and sister. That's like it's all kindness. Yeah,
you
Juliet,
really are.
I can't see. Oh, thank you so much. I just can't see. It bothers me though when people treat others with like such disrespect. Like it was crazy because yesterday. I was at Wegmans and there was this crazy lady at the register. And she was getting mad because this poor guy, he was brand new working at the store. And then this lady's just like, "Oh, you over here and stuff like that. The order's not $200. You put my freaking broccoli in wrong. You hit $3.72 when it's $1.99." And he's over there, she's over there yelling at this poor kid. And he's like a teenager, and I'm just like, what is this lady for? And then she's getting nasty with all the workers. I'm just like, oh, these folks are crazy. I've seen some crazy people go in there. Oh my goodness.
Don't you think it's gotten worse though with look, obviously New York is a very challenging place to live. It's expensive, it's intense, it's like a lot of different types of people, and I just feel like obviously because of coronavirus and now the riots, and it's become everybody's really so much more on edge than I've ever felt in my entire life, in my entire 25 years. Double that. But I've never felt like it's palpable now how stressed people are, understandably.
There's a lot going on, and like we've told you before, Izzy and I have been going back and forth. We haven't stopped working. There's a lot of people who are out of work. They're unemployed. They're trying to deal with their paying the rent or trying to make sure they stay healthy. And it's a very odd situation. Who knows? Trump.
We're lucky to have jobs. I'm grateful.
For sure.
And we're lucky to be healthy. So it could be worse.
Right.
Oh, it definitely could be. Because I'll tell you, that's one thing about me personally is that if I knew I had no money coming in right now with all these bills and stuff like that, Juliet, Nick, I'm telling you, I would be probably in the hospital right now having a panic attack because I don't know how some of these folks out here are really doing it, because it's like because I'll tell you, financial stress is like a different kind of stress. Like, I don't know exactly how to even like start to explain it though, but it's just like, because you start thinking about like your whole entire life. Like you start thinking like, damn, like, am I going to lose my home? God forbid. Am I going to lose this? Am I going to be okay with this? Am I going to do this? It's really just a crazy situation. I said to myself, brother and sister, I am praying for everybody out here. And I really hope that they just are able to just stay strong and keep pushing through all this, because we're in our country right now is really in a situation where it's just like,
it's in a situation.
It is. And I feel like so many people don't really know like how to kind of handle it because it's so bad.
The one thing that I can say, and I am twice your age, and I've gone through. We all go through stuff, whether it's family stuff or financial or relationship. We all go through, and we will continue to go through. This is the reason that we live, because we evolve and we experience life, and life is not always easy. But I will say that the one thing about this period of time in life is that not only do you have to worry about potentially getting sick, and this coronavirus thing is still so unpredictable, we still don't know much about it, but then you also are worrying about, yeah, putting food on your table and having a place to live. And I've always said, at the end of the day, when I lost my job, when I had stuff going on with Fox or with this, or crazy things happening in my life, at the end of the day, I still had a roof over my head. And people can't say that right now, or people are going, I don't know if I'm going to have a roof over my head, and my mother is sick with coronavirus, and it's just like, there's so much, there all these things that are coming at once to all of us. It's incredibly overwhelming. And I think the answer is just, it sounds very simplistic, but it's kind of true. You really just have to go, you know what? We're all going through it together. Some of us are much more lucky than others. Some of us have more of a financial blanket than others, but we're going to be okay. And hopefully we have friends and family members that we can rely on. And that's a scary thought too, because if you don't, then you're relying on the government. And that's a crazy thing to have to rely on right now.
It's very crazy. And there was a story that really happened today that confused me, talking about big business. I'm sure you saw the Starbucks story, right?
Yes.
So Starbucks in the news again, making social news, telling their employees not to wear Black Lives Matter movement stuff on their clothes. I mean, they have an agreement for,
shocking to me, but
I just, and I was talking to Izzy about this before, like, why are they making movements against Black Lives Matter, but they're okay with LGBTQ movement? Mm-hmm. Like, why is that okay? I never understood that.
Did they give a reason? Like, did they say what the logic was?
I just think it's I don't know. I guess it's the logic.
Stoke the flames that are already there.
I mean, we saw Starbucks have the problem. I think that I think the owner had to go on, what was it, Good Morning America, to put out a controversial flame with throwing somebody out of one of their establishments. And now they're dealing with this, and they're not doing themselves a service.
Well, they're also supposedly this was happening before the whole coronavirus thing kicked in, but supposedly they were planning on going to more, rather than going into a Starbucks store, they're going to kind of like shrink the stores down, and do more of the, you order, on your phone and you show up and you pick up and you go. So they're trying to obviously save money. Not that they have to save money. Starbucks is like loaded, but they're just trying to sort of, make things more efficient. But I don't know, because Starbucks is like, it's the whole Seattle thing. I mean, it's the whole liberal granola world. So it's kind of surprising that they did that. But the only thing that I can think is that right now tempers are so high. Anxiety is high. There's just this sort of palpable sense that things are just really off. And I think that we have to start kind of making moves to try to quell things. And I'm the last person to say, I don't think you guys should protest anymore. But things have settled down, obviously, with the riots kind of happening after the protests. But by the same token, it's like, okay, maybe it's time we start to settle things down a little bit. Let's organize protests and make them, let's have them during the day, so that we don't give the opportunity for these protests to be exploited and hijacked by, these crazy people that have no interest in what's happening. They've got no commitment to the Black Lives Matter thing. They just want to steal, and they just want to, loot and do crazy things, and they want to have the cover of the protests. I feel like, I don't know, Izzy, I mean, you're marching in the next few days, right?
Right.
And do you feel that there's a sense that maybe the protests are starting to wind down a little bit?
You know, Juliet, I think they're actually getting more bigger, and I think they're getting
Really?
more peaceful as well too. Because I think the looting, when that, it's very interesting with the looting. Because me personally, like, I don't really believe in going after someone else's personal belongings, like in their business, and kind of taking what they have. Because I feel like they worked so hard for that. The marching and the protesting, I say, is fine because I think it's because I do believe that we have a major movement going on out
I
here.
do
Because I
too.
got to think
A lot of
as a
stuff has changed already.
oh yeah, I mean you have so many companies now. I mean everything going on with NASCAR on how to get rid of the Confederate flag. They don't want it at their events anymore. And then you have like Sesame Street, like they're coming out with shows for kids now to try to stop all this racism out here. And there's a lot of different companies doing different things. Like I'll tell you, though, Nickelodeon last week when they came out and they said that they were going to go silent for 8 minutes, I was actually speechless because I have
Oh, I
never
didn't know that.
as they did, yeah. Last week
Really?
on Tuesday for Blackout Tuesday, they went speechless. Well, actually, they went silent for they went black for about 8 minutes on the air, and I was just like, wow. You know, I got to tell you, like, as an African American man, I have personally experienced. I would say a good amount of racism in my life, and then also too, like my grandmother, like what she has told me. She's passed on. Oh God, rest her soul. She's been gone for 2 years now, and
Hmm.
I miss her to death every day.
Hmm.
And yeah, I oh man, I cry about her twice a week. She, you know, she was actually like telling me like when she was growing up down south in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, that she got rocks thrown at her because of the color of her skin, and she was marching in Washington, and at the time there was black and white fountains, so it was really like a crazy time. And I feel like what's going on out here now is such a major movement, and also there's people of all ages at these marches and the
Yes.
protests. But I've been noticing that there's a huge amount of people that are young. Like we have a lot of millennials
Oh
that
yeah.
they're actually, and a lot of them are the organizers too. Like they're actually
Yes.
out here who are 18 and 19 setting these events up.
Yeah. There were a bunch of protests out here on Long Island, and several of them were organized by high school girls, and they turned into these sort of controversial situations because there were some, anti anti Black Lives Matter protesters out and blah 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 blah. But it was funny because it was like the whole mantra was all these people are coming in from all these other places. It was like, no, no, they're not. Actually, they're local people. And the thing that makes me crazy is when I hear, well, they're just a bunch of little punk kids. Guess what? These punk kids will be voting in a couple of years. They may be
Mm-hmm.
16, they may be 17. They'll be voting. They have a right to vote. And when they see somebody coming out, an adult coming out and screaming at them and screaming horrible things at them and mocking them and belittling them and marginalizing them because they are actually doing what our founding fathers wanted us to do, which was, utilize our right to protest peacefully. And these assholes are sitting there screaming at these children, mocking them. It's like, guess where you're pushing these kids. They're going to go so far away from who you are, and I look at kids right now that are protesting. I'm watching these, I'm watching the videos and I'm watching all these young people go by, and it's like, wow. I mean, when I was in high school, I was like, what party is happening this weekend? I mean, I didn't give a crap
Yeah.
about any of this stuff.
Yes.
I'm so impressed by these kids. It's like, this is amazing. Good for them. And I mean, don't we want our kids to be considerate and caring and empathetic and involved and doing things like this? I mean, I find it inspiring.
There's other things as well, talking about what Izzy said with the blackout on Nickelodeon. And I saw a story that I'm looking at now, which was very odd, that they want to change the theme of Splash Mountain in Disney World to, because apparently it was from one of their racist films that Disney made. Or I saw they canceled Live PD, which was another program.
Yeah.
They canceled Cops. So now we're
Well,
canceling everything due to this culture. What do
well,
you think about
the
that?
show on Curtis and Juliet today, we started joking around about it. Look, again, if I have to put myself in a where I stand, I support Black Lives Matter. I support people protesting. I understand that there is white privilege. I tried to explain it to Curtis and our listeners yesterday, and I felt like it was like nobody was listening to me. White privilege doesn't mean that you're racist. It means that you sort of just are assuming that everything is equal for everybody, and it's not. And there are just little things, and there are big things, but there are little things that you don't know, that we don't notice as white people. And you do notice when you're African American, when you're Latino, and I think that I think that these protests have made people realize that there is not only an unhappiness in this country, but an unhappiness to the point of anger, and like we bitched about it for years and things haven't changed. Things need to change now. And like you said, look at all these things that have changed. The live PD. I mean, I don't like to see it go into these crazy, like Gone with the Wind, we're not going to run Gone with the Wind anymore. Canceling everything out is ridiculous to me personally. But it sometimes I think that you have to go to extremes to get to the middle. Sometimes you have to push for the absolute most extreme thing to get a little bit of movement forward. And I think that's what's happening right now. I think that there's this sort of everything has to be canceled, and everything has to be addressed, and everything has to be shut down, and because that's not going to last. But what it's going to do is make everybody realize, okay, wait, hold on a second. Things have gotten out of control, and we do have to be respectful, and we do have to give a little. And I think I think all of this cancel stuff is ephemeral, but I think it's making a point, if that made any sense.
Absolutely.
I think that too. You're right. And it's interesting because like the other day, guys, I was like thinking to myself, like, even though I don't agree with the looting, I understand where people are coming from, because I think they're so frustrated of the injustice in this country when it comes to police brutality and also with racial equality. And if you go back to like the last Civil War, we kind of had like the same thing happen, to where millions of dollars of businesses got destroyed before they put civil rights into movement or into play into the United States of America. And I feel like now it's coming to a level where, and some people say that like all lives matter, which I personally understand what they are saying. On the other hand, and the other side of that, with African Americans and people of color, there's been so many different issues and problems out there that they have experienced a lot more than what a white brother or sister out here are experiencing. And it's because I'll tell you, me personally, I mean, when I was in school, people used to call me the N-word all the time. My one friend used to tell me, he was like, hey, dude, be careful, man, in that town, because you're DWB, you're driving while black. And it just makes me feel like, damn. God.
Wow.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. The three of us could go out and we can, go grab dinner together, and we get along great. We're friends. There are people out there that just have not been, they have not had friends. They have not been exposed. They're either they've either been raised by families that are so just insulated, or they just haven't been able to travel, or they haven't seen. So that I think a lot of times racism is sort of born in just an ignorance, a true ignorance of the world out there. And I think, again, the three of us could go out and we could sit and have an amazing time. And we could probably invite somebody that maybe grew up on Long Island, who was one of the guys that showed up as one of the anti-protesters, and we could have them sit down. And by the end of the meal, we could be great friends with them, and they would have a totally different perspective. But I think that's the problem, is that a lot of people don't expose themselves because they're so closed off. And look, it's like, let's be honest. When we grow up, our parents have a lot of influence on us. So what our parents think, typically that's what we think. And it isn't until we get out and go to school or go out into the real world that we start to be able to sort of formulate our own opinions. And I think a lot of the racism is born of just ignorance, lack of experience, closed-mindedness. And I think that there are a lot of people out there that just need to see. They need to sit down with you, Izzy, and see you're just a guy. You're just a guy who has darker skin than I do.
Right.
You're just a guy, you know, and you come to the table with different experiences, as do you, as do I. But at the end of the day, don't we want life to be happy. We want to be peaceful, and we want people around us to be happy and peaceful too. And I think that's probably the biggest thing for me, that there's just got to be a way that we can have more engagement in these different communities. We have to get to know each other more. I'll tell you, when my life changed when I started to travel overseas, my life completely changed. It opened up a whole new world for me. It made me realize, you know, America's great. It's an amazing country, but oh my God, over there, look at these things have been around. They're ancient, and look at the history, and and it just, you know, it opened me up so much to what else is out there. And I think that people really have to, people have to be open. People have to see what else is out there, and people have to talk and engage each other and not be so closed off. And I think that's pretty much the solution, honestly.
I know you talk about traveling a lot. I've heard you talk about that on the radio. Now, how did you get the nickname Jet Set Juliet? I'm just curious.
Well, because, you know, because Curtis has the, you know, he's Rain Man, so he has these sayings, and he just always goes back to the sayings. So because I love to travel, and I always joke around about how, oh, we're so wealthy living in Huntington, on the North Shore, at our massive mansion, which, by the way, as you can see, I'm freaking like giant fan sitting here, you know, but it's just funny for me to do that. And honestly, God, I've looked at our Curtis and Juliet Facebook page, and some of these people, they write and they're like, you're so rich and you think you're so freaking important. And I'm like, do you not get that this is a joke? Like, I'm not rich, and I'm not 25, like I'm 50, and I don't think I'm hot, and my husband is, it's like, what? People are so crazy. But I know, yes, I know, you know. But yes, but Curtis, speaking of crazy, Curtis he's a bizarro man, but he just knew that I love traveling, and he likes to have his little nicknames for everybody, so he came up with Jet Set Juliet, which I love.
But it must be killing you that you can't travel, because I know you you like going to Italy. I think I read, right? I see on your post.
Yes, yeah. My husband and I go to Venice. Well, we would go 3 times a year because we don't have kids. We met too late. You know, my little eggies hatched by the time that we met. So obviously we can save that. I know you guys are like, oh my God, that's so uncomfortable. It's okay.
No, it's fine.
Oh no.
The money that we would spend on, I always say, the money that we would spend on, you know, Pampers and baby food and all that stuff, we save for travel. So I had gone out of the country a few times before I met John. When I met him and we first started dating, I think we had been dating 2 months, and I said, we should go to Europe. And he's like, I would love to. And he's a musician, as you saw, the hair and everything. But he toured all around the country, but he'd never been outside of the country. So I said, let's go to London, then we'll take the train to Paris, and then we'll fly to Venice. And I was like, these are 3 of my favorite places. And so we did that. And when we got to Venice, if you've ever been there, have you been there before?
No.
Okay. Well,
never been there before.
When you fly in, you go to the airport, and then you have to get from the airport to the actual island of Venice. So you take a boat. So it's either you take a water boat or a water taxi. And I told John, I got like the little private water taxi thing, a little splurge a little bit. And as we were leaving the airport, and it's about a half an hour's ride, as you start coming into Venice, you just see this fairy tale land open up before you. And John, literally, I mean, he is a tough dude. Grew up in Valley Stream, kicked the crap out of people like all of his life. And he's an angel now. He's given up that world. But we're coming in, and I'm looking at him, and he's got his sunglasses on, and he's like doing this, you know, and it was like the tears were streaming down. It was so beautiful. So he just couldn't believe what he was seeing. And so we ended up going to Venice a few other times, and we started meeting people there. And by the end of I don't know, like the 5th time, we ended up becoming really good friends with people. We met some musicians, you know, and it's become like our second home, and we absolutely love it. So yes, it's killing me that we haven't been able to go. We were supposed to go this past March, and they shut it down a week before our trip. We were like,
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah,
And
but
that's the thing, yeah, like I have never in my entire life, like I'll never forget this actually. And this happened in school, I think when I was in like 7th grade. My teacher came up to all of us and she was just like, "So, have you guys ever been anywhere outside the country before?" And I'm just like, "I've been to California before." And then everyone looked at me, they're just like, "Oh, wait, isn't that in the United States?" I'm just like, oh,
but it's
damn,
kind
yeah,
of like
it
it's kind of another country depending on where you go.
is. It almost is, right? Just how big and everything it
well,
is. And it's like, oh.
well, I'll tell you one thing, Juliet and Izzy and I were discussing this. He's never been to Disney World in Florida.
Nope, never
Oh,
have in my life.
I mean, I don't know you well, so I don't know what you like to do. But it is when you walk in there, if you've never seen it before, it's kind of like you immediately go back to being 8 or 6. You know, you're
Yep.
like, and it's so clean and so, you know, organized and pristine and everything. Oh God, yeah. So do you want to go there?
I do. I have to go. I like his because I said to Nick, I was just like, he has to take me, or somebody has to like just. I want to go with somebody.
Well,
Oh, you have to go.
well, I used to do it as a family vacation when I was growing up. So we did it for like 13, 14 straight years.
Oh my
But
God. Wow. That's
so
amazing.
right. So we did that as a kid. So I said, Izzy, you got to go. You're missing out on the traditional experience of being a kid in Disney. So,
But I mean, even if you go there when you're 65, you still feel like a kid. It's just so, yeah. But I do have to say this. One of the things that's been one of the reasons that Curtis calls me Jet Set Juliet is because I have become amazing at getting amazing deals when I travel, and that became sort of my obsession. Um,
Wow.
oh yes.
oh, I want to
So
learn this. Okay.
oh no no no. It's I'm telling you, I have all the little tricks. It's so easy. But one of the big things is that when we go over to Italy, so let's say that we're planning a 12-day trip. You know, we're going to leave on a Thursday night. We'll come back the following 2 Mondays later. So you know, 12 days. We will we have been able to book round trip tickets, flights for us total for like $800. I mean,
What?
total.
Really?
That is
No
like
way.
that is like for one person for a week at Disney. I mean, maybe even like half of one
That's like
person.
3 days.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, so we get great, you know, great flights, and then we travel, we do the Airbnbs, and we just it's like we've completely learned how to maximize the nicest places but pay the least amount of money. And that's the thing about going to Disney World. It's like it's so freaking expensive. And it's like you could for what it would take to take like, you know, a family of 4 there, you could go to where we go 2 times. I mean, you could go back and forth to Europe twice and have the most amazing
Hmm.
time. It's really expensive. If I
It's
were
almost,
you,
yeah.
honestly, I mean, I again, Izzy, I don't know you well, so I don't know. I would say save that money and go to Europe. Go someplace in Europe. Do something like that where you actually see history and, you know, I mean, Disney World is cool, but you can ride the subways in Paris or something
Oh, that
like that.
sounds
You know,
like fun. Yeah, it sounds like fun traveling the world. I mean, let's see. The only place I've been out of the country is the Bahamas. That's really the only place I've been to. So,
that's great.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I'm just
so
not.
And
I'm not a beach person anymore. It's like I would rather just not have a bathing suit on at this point in my life. I like to go around. We like, you know, we like to walk around and just get to know a city and see the history and stuff like that. That's our thing. But maybe that's an old person's thing. I don't know.
no, I
well,
love
who
it
knows?
too. I mean, now let me ask you this, Juliet. What's what kind of differences like have you seen like from the United States and like Italy per se? Like, are the people like nicer over there? Do they have like a lot of accents? Because that's something I love. I love people like met some of
Well,
these French people,
yeah. I mean,
and
when you go to I'll use Venice as an example. When you go to Venice, I mean, it's it's actually gotten a bad reputation because of just the massive amount of tourists that are there, and it's not a very big area, so the tourists all stay in kind of one area, and you know you're walking like this. um, but there are a lot of Asian tourists, lots of Asian tourists. They come in these huge tour groups. You've got the European tourists, obviously. So yeah, you've got tons of accents. But I will say this about Italy and every other place in Europe, and pretty much every other place on the planet. The one thing that I have such a problem with is that Americans, because most of us, if we were working at a restaurant, either of us were working at a restaurant, and somebody comes in from Germany and they start speaking German to us, we'd be like, why is this person even thinking that we're going to understand? But when you travel over there, people, you see so many different countries and people from different countries. So they kind of have like a pretty decent understanding, basic understanding of a lot of the popular languages, German, obviously English, Spanish, French, and Italian. And so they can handle people going over there and sort of speaking their own language and sort of, but Americans, I feel like they travel over there and they just immediately start talking and they're like, I want this, and they speak so fast and they speak, English. And that's the thing that makes me crazy, because it's like, you're in their land. You're in their world. Speak slowly. Don't assume that they understand what you're saying, and don't get mad when they don't understand what you're saying. That's probably my biggest peeve about traveling, is just I get so annoyed with my countrymen when they just act so entitled, and it's like, it gets me crazy.
Don't say that too loud. They might be talking about New Yorkers. But
oh well.
Oh gosh.
Please.
You guys should see it the one time. It was the funniest thing ever. This happened like Christmas time, actually. And there was these two people on the train with me, and they came up to me and they were just like, hey, do you know, like, when we get to New York City, like, what we have to do next? And I'm just like, oh, and I asked them, I said, so wait.
Huh? You go down to Penn Station to the bathroom and
yeah, that's what it's so funny, because like I was asking them, I said, so are you guys like trying to go somewhere? They're like, yeah, we're trying to tour the city because we're from Florida and this is my first time coming to New York. And let me tell you guys, when we got to Penn Station, they looked at me when they got off the train and they were just like, oh my God, what is that? Because when I took them upstairs, I was just like, well, welcome to Penn Station, New York. And then they go to me and they're like, so how do we get down to Tribeca? I want to go down and see something. I'm just like, oh, you got to take the subway. And they're just like, or you can take the Uber or the taxi. And this is at the time when everything was normal. And then they're like, the subway. I took them down there by like the LIRR where the ACE train is. And they looked at the map and they're like, what?
Oh, yeah, I know.
Like,
the New York subway
funny
is so hard to understand. It's like, I mean, I try to stay off of it just because I'm not a big fan of subways. But like, you go to London, it's organized. Paris, it's very organized. It's just we really have to step it up a little bit, I think.
Well, we'll see if that happens. But yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm not going to bet on, especially now.
But so another thing that came up, as you said, big music fan here. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you saw I don't know if you can call them this anymore, Lady Antebellum. You saw that story as well, that they now changed to Lady A?
No, they did not.
Yes, they did. Because apparently Antebellum, and actually, I'll go back if I can find it quickly. One of our colleagues who does news for us actually sent me the reason for why they. Oh, here. So they had to change it to, from Antebellum to A because Antebellum meant direct reference to it was a direct reference to the slavery pre-Civil War South. So now they're Lady A.
I think Curtis said this today, and I agree with him. It's going to get to the point where it's so overdone and so overblown that all these people that are saying, well, if you don't change your name to Lady A instead of Antebellum, then clearly you're a racist. They're going to, as Curtis said, they're going to eat their own. It's going to come back. It's unreasonable. That's unreasonable. Antebellum is also it's a style of architecture, the antebellum homes. I mean, it's just that's when I think movements lose their power and they lose their credibility, when it's just it's unrealistic. But again, it comes to the point where it's like you have to push to the extremes to get at least a little bit of movement. So, I mean, I can't imagine all this stuff lasting. You know, I
You think
mean,
it's
are we going to just cancel every show that has a cop in it? Are we going to? I mean, we joked around about that today. Are we going to cancel? We're never going to see Chips. We're never going to see Die Hard. I mean, it's like, is this? So this is what we're doing. Are we? So now we're going to get rid of Gone with the Wind because it features slavery. Well, then are we going to get rid of anything that has Louis the 14th because he persecuted Protestants? You know, it's like, at what point do we stop? I mean, to me, I think that when I see a statue, I can look at that statue and go, wow, okay, that was Oliver Cromwell. Oliver Cromwell basically was the leader of the Civil War in England. He persecuted Christians in Ireland. He has a statue right out front of the House of Commons in London. His statue is still there. But this is a guy who's slaughtered people because of their religion. But he's a part of history. There's a story, and I look at him and I go, okay, well, that was a shitty thing to do. That was disgusting and creepy. But there's history, and that was a different time, and that was, religious wars were the, you know, kind of the thing. I mean, do I want to see a statue of Hitler? No. So it's kind of hard to. It's kind of hard to have the same rules, but I don't know. I feel like when you wipe away things, and it's like you're pretending that they never existed, and we can't do that. We have to be able to talk. I think all statues should stay, and I think there should be an extra plaque on them that explains why they are controversial. You know, why is Andrew Jackson controversial? Why is Robert E. Lee controversial? That seems like it would do a good job.
I mean, we saw the Columbus statue. We saw Cuomo comment about that we shouldn't remove it. Or now we're even talking about defunding Minneapolis police, which was a whole nother thing that was a little confusing to me. But it's like you said, are we just... Yeah. Go ahead.
My thing is that, so I actually told this story on the air the other day, but when I first got into TV, I would walk down the hallway and I'd see my colleague, you know, male colleague, and I'd be like, hey, sweetie, you know, and he'd go, hey, hon, you know. It was like, fine. You know, I didn't feel like he was like, hey, hon. You know, it was what it was. When there was a creepy guy that was doing creepy things, I called him out. But it's gotten to the point now where it's like, I actually said to Ariel, one of our colleagues, I referred to her as sweetie. I'm like, oh, thanks, sweetie. And then I said, I'm sorry. I keep saying that. And she's like, you're the only one that's allowed to do that. But it's like, life was different 20 years ago in television. Things were different 200 years ago. We evolved, we changed, we learned, we experience. And that's the thing. It's like, I feel like we're very rigid, and I think if we constantly freak out at everything that we find out about a person's past, if it happens to be not cool now, but it was, you know, sort of the norm back then. If we start annihilating everybody and we start sort of saying you must lose your career because of this, nobody's going to be employed. I mean, nobody is going to be employed, because I guarantee you, as wonderful as you guys are and as young as you are, I guarantee you 10 years ago, maybe you did something that in 20 years, people are going to go, I don't think so.
It's like comedians.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
100%. Oh my God, 100%. Perfect example. And it's not that we're not bad people. We've evolved. We've learned. And I think that's where liberalism loses its art. It sort of loses its punch, because as wonderful and as idealistic as people are, when many liberals are, when they start becoming so harsh and being so unbending, that's when I think that they lose. And that's why I think there's such a fight constantly in this country, well, around the world.
I mean, it's like you were saying, like, you can't go up to a woman on the street and say, oh, that's a pretty dress. Because as soon as you say that, people are going to say, oh my God, that's sexual harassment. You can't say that anymore.
I mean, I know that it's technically supposed to be, it falls into that realm. If somebody says to me, I can't tell you how many people at work have been like, "Oh, your hair looks really cute." Oh, or, "Oh, I love that outfit." Oh, and they get so worried, and it's like, no, it's cool. To me, I mean, look, I've been the target of sexual harassment. I know what sexual harassment is. Sexual harassment is when somebody lords their position over you. When somebody says, "Oh, you look adorable, Julie. I love your outfit." If a guy says that to me, I'm like, "Thanks, cool." But if he's like, "I love your outfit. Do you want to meet me in the bathroom?" It's like, you can tell what the difference is. It's just not that difficult. It's just, I think everybody's getting so hyper strung, and we're losing our ability to just be human.
Yeah, I mean, I call people love and sweetie
Yeah.
and brother. I say it all the time. I don't know, because sometimes, like, I say to myself, I'm just like, damn, like, am I sure I'm not from like Brit or something like that, or Great Britain? Because like they say that all the time. British people, they're always like,
Love.
"Hello, my love. How are you, my love? You want to eat this one, my love? You want to eat this milkshake or the coffee?" They say it all the time,
You know what?
and I'm just thinking, I say to myself,
They also say the C word all the time.
Oh yeah, that's right. I know what you're saying.
I
Yeah.
love that word. What?
they
Wait, what?
do. You're right.
What?
They do say it all.
They do say that.
You know what word I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But that's a very common word for them. I always say it around my husband because I think it's hysterical, and he's like, "Oh, don't say." He's so grossed out by me. I'm like, "Yo," it's just like, that's so unladylike. I'm like, "Oh, stop, calm down."
That's another one I hear all the time also. Oh, it's very unladylike. Well, you know what? We all act certain ways. I mean,
I know.
Yeah, we're all different. We're all unique. We all have different personalities. Like, I mean, I know I'm crazy because I mean, I have people that come up to me all the time. They're just like, "Damn, dude, how do you do all that dancing like when you're on the live?"
Oh
I'm
my
just
God,
like,
that's so
I'm trying to
cute.
spread the
When I saw his video a few weeks back when you were dancing, and it was so cute, and I think it was I don't even remember. It was right at a time when things were very stressful in the country. And I just was like, I was at home, and I think we had some people, and I'm like, this is what makes me happy. And it's like, it's just, this is what life should be like. We should have Izzy's in our life. It should be just dancing and happy and fun and sweet, and everything is just so heavy now and so depressing and miserable and fighting, and it's just.
I always tell Izzy when I have a bad day and like he'll come in and I see one of his videos. I was like, "Oh, my day's totally better now that he came in here."
100%. Are you ever in a bad mood?
I am sometimes, Juliet. I am.
I
Like,
can't even imagine this.
You know what? I am. I gotta tell you though, because there's been days where things have been very, very challenging, and I mean, things are getting a little bit better now, and I thank God for this too. But I try to stay as positive as I can, because I feel like when you're living your life out here, the best thing you can do, there's actually three things. The first thing is to put as much effort as you can into whatever you're doing. Surround yourself with good people. And then the third
Yes.
thing is like to never give up. Because I think if you do those three things, brother and sister, I'm telling you, your life is gonna be, it's gonna be great. I mean, I think, because life's always a roller coaster, and I think it's like up and down sometimes. And let me tell you something. I mean, I know a lot of folks out here now, just with everything happening. I mean, they have been very like, I would lose it if I was in some of their positions, though. I would. And I think that's where, like what you were saying earlier, sis, it's amazing too, like that we're still working. We still have our jobs. That I'm blessed to be working all three of my jobs right now. Three jobs, yes, three jobs. Things actually changed a little bit, because I work at Wegmans, and I work at WABC, and then I also run my own landscaping business right here in my neighborhood. So I'm working three jobs.
Hardest working man I've ever seen.
He's such an angel. I swear to God. What do you do, Nick? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, seriously.
You work
boy.
hours.
No, he's a good man. He works hard too. It's a we know, guys. I got to eventually though. What I think I'm trying to work on is, because before all this happened, I was at the radio station a lot. And I was there like about 30-something hours a week. And I was at the store like a couple days a week. So I said to myself, like, what I'm working on now is I'm eventually going to segue out of retail. I'm hoping, because I really do want to work in radio and TV and broadcasting full time. And I've been very blessed because I've been at WABC for 2 years now. I've been with Cumulus in total for 3 years, working in the field between school and working with La Loca and then working at our station. And it's one of those things where, like, because I started working, my first ever job that I had was at Target. And I was there for 5.5 years, and I left there and I went to Wegmans because they said that they were paying a lot more
What do you
money.
do at Wegmans?
So I was working in the meat department, and then went to dairy, and then I work outside with the carts now. So I help people like to their cars, and I gather the carts up, and yeah,
You're the
dude.
perfect person to do that, by the way.
He
The
is.
perfect person to do that.
And
Thank
is
you.
actually, this was a perfect example because I don't know if most people saw the story that you posted, Izzy, but you had an unfortunate incident happen in the parking lot where you were standing near a dented car, right, Izzy?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. We were talking about that the other day.
I
And-
did, yeah. Oh, you know what? That was actually a different situation though, but that was a bad one. That was one of a good friend of mine too. That was actually it was so crazy with that happened. And I had a very bad situation in the parking lot last week on Tuesday, because when I got to the store at like 8 o'clock, there was a Toyota van that was sitting over to the left, and it had like a lot of dents on the side of it. So this guy was driving around in his car, and he kept like looking at me. Now, mind you, I had two of my friends besides me, and they're two of my white brothers, which I love to death. And it was one of those situations where the guy pointed at me, and he was just like, "Hey, man, did you dent those cars, and did you loot that car over there on the side?" And I'm just like, I don't think so.
Oh
And
my
I'm saying
God.
to myself, it kind of threw me for a big loop though, because I was just like, damn, like that was kind of like, and I'm a huge jokester. I love to laugh and have fun. But with everything going on, I was just like, damn, that's actually
horrible.
not really that funny, I don't think.
What did your friends say?
My friends, they were kind of looking at the situation, and they were like, wow, we didn't even think something like that was going to end up happening. And
I'm
then
so happy you weren't with me, because I would have.
Juliet's
My
a
husband thinks
tough,
I'm gonna
tough one.
He's like, you're gonna get shot. You're gonna get shot. Or I'm gonna get killed because you have such a big mouth. Because it's that kind of stuff that makes me crazy. I would be like,
Juliet's the best 'cause she'll defend everybody to the best of her ability. So
Oh, you should have seen it. We had a freaking lady come in, and she was going ham about the mask like 2 weeks ago. She came up to me and she was just like, "How come all these people in the parking lots are not wearing masks?" And I told her, I said, I don't know, ma'am. I guess they don't have to really wear them in the parking lot when they're at their cars. So just like, this is ridiculous. And she's like holding it, like, I can't believe you guys are letting this happen and all. And she walked away. And then when she went inside to the vestibule to get a cart, she looked at this random woman behind her, and she was like yelling at her, "Put a mask on!" And this one lady's like, "What the fuck is wrong? I have a mask on." I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like looking, I'm like, what have these people lost it? Like, and I really think they have to.
because I saw a video of some I think she was Asian. You couldn't really see her, but she was working out in LA on a staircase, like an outdoor, stair. And so you do the stairs, and she was exercising, and she had turned on her camera to sort of shoot herself exercising. And this woman, this battle axe, comes over and starts cursing her out, and just she looked like a little hobbit. She was an older woman screaming at this poor girl. She's like, "Go back to your own country," and just saying, "What? Why are you wearing black? Who wears black in the sun in California?" It was so crazy. It was like, but I'm sitting there and I'm watching it and I'm going, okay, again, the girl that was exercising, Asian woman, incredibly patient, because I would have been like, I would have gone mental. But then I started thinking, this woman that's screaming at her, like, she's out of her mind. Like, who acts like this? And it's like, are you a racist, horrible human being, or are you just crazy? And so I'm starting to wonder, maybe there are just a lot of really crazy people out there that just don't know what the hell they're saying. I don't know. I can't figure it out anymore.
Yeah.
Juliet, I've been trying to figure that out for years, and I
I,
just gave up kind of like a couple years ago because I was like, I don't know what's wrong with some of these folks, child. Because,
ugh.
ooh, they have lost it,
Yeah.
honey. They have lost it.
Well, I will tell you that my Facebook has been, it really has been pared down. I didn't realize how many people were in my life that I really think are just disgusting pieces of shit, frankly.
Oh
Juliet, I
no,
said the same thing.
I'm
I
like, wow.
yeah. I've seen some of the posts on your page just because it comes up sometimes on my feed, and I said I don't know how you put up with it sometimes. I said you
Oh
have a lot
no,
of
no, but not the Curtis and Juliet page, like my
no,
own
no, no. I
private,
mean
like,
your page. I see your page
oh,
come up from time to time, and I said I don't know how
oh
she
yeah.
has the patience to put up with some of this stuff, but she really does a good job in handling it.
I don't know. I always um, come down to the fact where I just feel like we can engage in a spirited debate, and we don't have to insult each other, and we don't have to make it personal. And I try to do that on the show. It's just difficult sometimes because people are ready to just, they're listening to me and they're like, this Trump hater, she's a fucking bitch. And they're ready. So the second they start speaking, it's like, I could just hear them just seething at me, and then it makes me crazy. And then it's a very strange time we're in. Very strange time.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
is.
go ahead.
Mhm. Oh no, go ahead, brother.
I was just going to say with the election coming up, it's
Oh,
just
it's
going to
only
get
going to get worse.
it's only going to
Yeah.
get worse, and I'm sure you're going to see a ton of weird things and weird comments and weird situations coming up.
I'm trying to just understand it. I'm trying to navigate it. It's hard for me because, again, as you can see, I have a big mouth and I'm very righteous. If I think, I'm like my mother is this way. If I think that somebody's being mistreated, or I think something's unfair, or I think something's wrong, I will be the first one to grab the can that some guy threw when he was littering and go throw it right back. And like, that's how psycho I am. And my mom raised me to be this way. So if somebody is being racist, or if somebody's being homophobic or something, I have to, it's like, I have to say something. But on the show, I found that I tend to like get really pissed off, and then it gets really ugly. And I think I think I just have to remind myself people just need to vent, and I can't take it personally. And I do take it personally because don't call me a moron, don't call me, but again, it comes back to, if those people sat down with me and actually got to know me, we probably would like each other at the end of the night. Because I like people. I like to get to know people. I like to see what your experiences have been all about, and see sort of how you ended up where you are. And I'm very into that kind of stuff. So I don't go after people just because they're Trump supporters or because they're this or that. I mean, I genuinely try to get to know people. And I think that if people got to know me, they wouldn't be so hateful. But there's really not an opportunity for that, So, but it's challenging sometimes.
And Juliet, that's the reason that like I personally love this business is because like this right here is a platform where I can just express my love and I can try to inspire and encourage people because I know a lot of folks out there are just going through like a really tough time. And having something like this every single day, like having your own radio show or having your own TV show, it's amazing because I'll tell you, these people on the internet nowadays, like
Ugh.
these kids on YouTube are making freaking thousands
Oh, I
of
know.
dollars just being on YouTube. Let me tell you this, there's an 18-year-old, an 8-year-old boy, and what he does is he goes around and reviews toys for a living, and he
I
Oh
makes like
yeah,
millions of dollars a freaking year. His parents don't even have to work.
I know. And that's the whole thing about branding. If people have figured out how to brand themselves and just make themselves unique in a certain situation, and that's all you have to do. Figure out how to get into a niche, and then you could be loaded in a week. I'm not very
Yeah.
good at I'm not good at selling myself. I hate that. It's like I don't like to talk myself up. I like to just sort of let things happen. I'm not good at that. So I would be bad at branding.
I think you do a good job at selling yourself on the station. So I think you do it well.
Uh, uh.
Well, I think you do too. It's yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I always say this too though. whatever you believe in, definitely go after it. Because I always say the money is going to definitely come. The money's going to come. I know some folks now that, they're working on inventions and they're working on like different things, and they keep saying that like nothing's ever going to happen. But I tell them, I said, brother and sister, please continue to be patient. It's definitely going to work out for you though, because a lot of people, and here's the other thing too, though, my friend, is that if people don't see your vision that you see it, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay in a way, because I'll tell you this too, is some people may not see it in the same way you see it though, because they may be thinking totally different though. But as long as you're okay with it though, and there is going to be people out here who are going to support you though. And the people out here who just say, because I'll tell you, like when I first got started, guys, in radio, I mean, I just, I remember I had family members actually, people that have told me, and they were just like, that's something good to do part-time. Like, don't do that full-time, because those people don't never make it anywhere. They just, and then like, I'm just like 2 years later, I'm at 770. I'm just like, whoa, like, but it's like people just are very, what bothers me with some folks though is like how quick they are to really kind of like judge others, like on what they really believe in. And
Yeah,
it's just,
again,
I mean, yeah.
I've got 25 years on you guys, and one of the biggest lessons I've learned is you will be miserable if you don't go after your passion in life. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. My mom was pressuring me to. I'm sorry. Who's going to be at your deathbed? You, whoever, if you're married, that's when you're going to look back in your life and you're going to go, shit, like, why did I spend 15 years as a lawyer when I hated it, when I really wanted to just open up a donut shop because I love donuts, and like that's the thing. And as I've gotten older and I've realized now I lost my television career and I thought my life was over, and I actually texted a friend of mine today and I said, because we were talking about a former colleague who's making a fortune. She's now involved in this salacious story that came out today, and she's got no talent, and it's just like, and I'm like, and I wrote my friend and I said, sometimes I sit there and I get lost in thought about how this one is a millionaire and is like so successful and is just making a fortune and just, doing, living the life. But then I realized I had a lot of that, and I never, ever was happy. It didn't matter how much money I made, and it didn't matter how famous I was getting, and it didn't matter how many, VIPs I interviewed, and it didn't matter that I could sit in the, in the VIP section. None of that mattered, because at the end of the day, what made me happy was having somebody in my life that loved me and cared about me, and I just had bad luck with that. And so I said to my friend, I wake up in the morning and I go to bed every night at peace, like feeling love and feeling no anxiety. I mean, anxiety here and there, but my life is very happy, and I'm making nothing compared to what I made back in my heyday when I was at Fox. But I would never in a million years change any of this, because life is, just like you said, Izzy, it's about who you surround yourself with. I wish I would have learned that. I wish I would have learned that years ago, because I had to have a million friends. I had to have, shit going on every night, and it was like, these people, none of these people are in my life anymore. They were good time Charlie friends. I mean, I have a small group. I put my attention and energy into that group and to my family, and that's what matters. And at the end of my life, when I'm sitting there looking up on my deathbed, I'm going to see my husband. Hopefully he'll still be there. And I'm going to go, this is what matters. This is all that mattered. I have this amazing love. Or I've got my, my niece, and that's all that matters. And you guys have 25 years to figure this out. But I hope that you understand that it's about waking up and feeling love. That's it.
Yeah.
Money will not ever make it. It can help you feel calm, but just having money won't make you happy.
It's a good point, and I'll finish off on one more question here. We were talking about love and support, trying to keep everybody together. I saw a tweet that from you that you got to go out to a diner for phase 2. I think I saw you
Well, no, we were supposed to go out to Prime, which is a restaurant in Huntington, but I had made the reservation early, when I knew it was opening up for 4 people. But then my mom came out and our neighbor, so we had 6 people, and they said our tables are limited to 4. So we ended up not being able to go. We sat in the backyard less. It was fine. But yeah, but I'm like, woo! I'm ready to get out.
Yes. I think we're all done with the quarantining and 6 feet away and all that stuff.
We really haven't. Like you guys are working sort of more obscure hours, but even from 12 to 4, I get in at 8:30 or 9. We see a few people, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like I would have gotten it at this point. Maybe not.
Well, so Juliet, we had a good time. An hour flies by, and so that's Juliet Huddy. You can hear her with Curtis Sliwa on Curtis and Juliet Monday through Friday, noon to 3 or 4. I guess now 4 hours.
Yeah, 4 lately. You guys are great. Thank you. We should do this all the time. We don't have to tape it. We could just air, have it on Facebook. We just have it.
Yeah, we're live.
I know you're like, you want to hang out with the 50-year-old woman.
Hey,
we'll
hang out with
everybody. I said to Nick the other day, I was just like, yeah, she's gonna be like a great guest. She's just like so amazing, and no problem. I was because it's so funny. Like every time I see you at the station in the halls, I know you're like so busy getting ready for the show, and I'm just like, I can't even like sit down and talk.
Yeah. I know. I know. Yeah, you know why? Because Curtis always shows up late. So the last minute.
Oh man, but you know what? I gotta tell you though, too. Just going back for a sec, what you said about just loving what you do for a living. Though, my teacher did say that once. He was just like, guys, just whatever you want to do for a living, just do your best and all that, because you'll just be doing it for the next.
Put all your energy into it and do it. Don't get swayed. Don't go for the money. Go for what makes you happy.
Right. I agree with it too, though. I definitely do, because I gotta tell you guys though, with the money though, I believe that like it's a good thing to definitely go after what you believe in though, and because you're gonna be waking up doing that same job for the next 50 years of your life.
Yeah,
but I think
if you have a passion for something and you don't go for that, you do something else that just is bringing you money. Most people will always end up going back to their passion or be miserable.
Right, and I'll tell you this too, though, guys. Brother and sister, I wish actually the reason I wished I really was like loaded and I was rich is because I'm going to use that money to help other folks out with it.
I knew he was going to say that. He was going to say that. I'd be like, I'm going to go to Italy and buy a villa. And Izzy's like, I would help people. I would help people too, but I'll buy a villa first, though.
Oh gosh, yeah, because I'll tell you, once I pay my bills off, and what I had, like, if I was like Sylvie singing rich, like keep 100,000 in the bank, or like 10,000 or something, like I'm gonna be like I don't have any, like I'm just gonna give a lot of the money away, because it's just like help other folks out with that too, who are a little less fortunate than what I am, because once I pay my stuff, I'm freaking done. Like I have nothing. I just enough money to pay my bills, but after that, like I'm gonna go out there and help folks, and like I really love like watching when like Ellen DeGeneres does that, because these people.
Oh, I know. Or Oprah. Oh. I know, me too. Wait, let me just show you because this is my bedroom. But hold on. See this little guy?
Look.
What?
An insider look.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I'll just say, when you're 50, you go through menopause. So I have to have a fan. You don't understand that. It's a whole different world. But but look at this little guy. Oh, hold on. What's going on here? Yeah. You seeing all that?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, that's our house.
Well, this was a fun hour plus.
Really fun, guys. I love you guys. So sweet.
And we'll have to have you back another time in the future, because I'm sure our conversations are not done. So
whenever you ask me, I will be there.
All right, Izzy, I think it's time to wrap it up. What do you think?
Oh, I don't want to leave, because I love doing this so much, and I really do.
Listen, I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna put this here and hang. Do my thing. You can keep this on. It's fine.
No, Izzy, we gotta go.
No, I love
There's
you
always
guys.
so much that they can put up with us with. So.
Oh, Juliet, you are so awesome. Hashtag
Thank you.
Izzy
So are
loves
you.
you.
Love you guys.
And
So-
hashtag Izzy loves you too, Nick. And brother and sister, hashtag Izzy loves you too. And thank you so much for watching another episode of Nick and Izzy right here on Facebook Live. And you can always catch the replay of this too, because this is going to be re-airing on the station. Actually, the station. See, I'm see how much for radio geek and nerd I am.
Listen, I'll make sure that I send it out on my social media too.
Oh, we appreciate that big time.
We appreciate that so much. Thank you
Just
so much.
send me the check in the mail. Nope.
The check in the mail. I love that.
Check it in
See, that reminds you of the restaurants now. Damn.
Oh my God.
we're out of time. Let's go. We got to get out of here.
Bye. Love you guys.
All right.
Well, I love you guys too.
Flattering.
Love you, brother and
It's so
sister.
unflattering here.
All right.
Oh, you know what I should have done? Does it have like the little things where you can put the rabbit thing on? Oh, forget it. Anyway.
He loves you, brother.
All
and
right.
sister.
Bye. Love you guys.
All right. Thanks,
you.
everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.